I just got back from a mental health camping trip up in the Adirondacks. No phone, no laptop, just an old emergency radio and my trusty digital camera. Work had been grinding me down, and honestly, life was starting to feel like a noose tightening around my neck. I needed to get away, to hit reset, and for a while it worked. The woods, the quiet, the crisp air, it was like a shot of life back into my veins. I came home feeling like a new man, like I'd been handed a clean slate to start over, but I didn't just come back new. I came back wrong. Let me take you back. The trip was everything I needed. I set up camp by a glassy lake, pines towering around me, their branches whispering in the breeze. I spent my days fishing, the water so still it felt like a mirror to another world. At night, I'd build a fire, watch the flames dance, and let my mind unravel. I even ran into a few other campers, folks out there for the same reason, trying to find some peace. We swapped stories, shared a few beers. It was normal, it was good. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I snapped a ton of pictures, too. My camera was always out, catching the lake at dawn, the glow of the fire, the way the trees seemed to lean in at night. By the end of the week, I had a whole memory card full. When it was time to go, I packed up, said goodbye to the woods, and drove my pickup back to Syracuse. That first night in my own bed. Man, it was like sinking into a cloud. No lumpy cot, no sleeping bag, just my mattress and the hum of my house. Next morning, I woke up early, grabbed a coffee, and decided to go through my photos before heading to the office. Figured I'd pick out the best ones, maybe post a few to show I was doing all right. I sat at my kitchen table, camera in hand, and started scrolling. That's when it all went sideways. The first photo was of me with 6 other people. We were lined up, arms slung around each other, grinning like old friends. My tent was in the background, same spot by the lake, with a few other tents pitched nearby. Except, I didn't know these people, not a single one. Their faces were blurred like they'd whipped their heads away right as the shutter clicked. Not just out of focus, their features were smeared like someone had dragged a finger through wet paint. The woman next to me had her arm around my waist, her fingers digging in, almost possessive. But I didn't know her. I didn't know any of them. My pulse kicked up. I went camping alone. I'd planned it for months, loaded my truck myself, driven 3 hours into the middle of nowhere. So who the hell were these people? Why was I standing with them like we were buddies? The background, my tent, the lake, the pines, was exactly where I'd been. But those other tents, I didn't remember them, not at all. I tried to shrug it off. Maybe I'd had one too many beers one night and forgot about some hikers who'd set up nearby. Maybe we'd hung out, snapped a photo, and my brain just blanked it. It was a flimsy excuse, but it was all I had to keep the panic from swallowing me whole. I kept scrolling, praying for something that made sense. The next photos were worse. Shots of me fishing, stirring a pot over the fire, kicking back by the lake. Moments I remembered clear as day. But in every single one there were other people. Strangers with blurred faces, standing by the water, sitting around the fire, even lurking in the background of shots I'd sworn I took alone. It was like someone had photoshopped these ghosts into my life. My hands started to sweat. This wasn't right. I moved to the second day's photos, another group shot, same as the first, but one person was gone. The guy on the far left just erased. The rest were still there, arms around each other, faces smudged, but the space where he'd stood was empty. The timestamp matched the first photo. How does someone vanish like that? The rest of that day's shots were the same. Moments I knew, casting my line, tending the fire, but with these blurred strangers mixed in. It felt like I was staring at a different version of my trip, a twisted reality where I hadn't been alone. But that couldn't be real, could it? Third day, another group shot, another person gone. This time, someone from the middle. The gap was stark, like a rip in the world. Fourth day, another missing. Fifth, another. By the sixth day, it was just me and the woman who'd been glued to my side in the first photo. Her face was still a blur, her arms still locked around my waist. The other tents in the background were shredded now like they'd been clawed apart in a storm. My tent? Perfect, untouched. And in the trees behind us, I saw something new. Shapes barely there, but unmistakable. Figures dangling, their heads twisted at sickening angles. My breath caught. My hands shook so bad I nearly dropped the camera. Who were these people? Where did they go? Why couldn't I remember them? And those shapes in the trees, what were they? I scrolled to the last photo from the final day, just me standing alone in the clearing. My tent behind me, pristine. But in the trees, clearer now, were 6 figures. 6 blurred bodies hanging like broken marionettes, their necks snapped at 90 degrees, their heads lolled, limbs limp, and my hands, both of them, were in the frame. Empty. If I wasn't holding the camera, who was? I sat there frozen, the camera's screen burning into my eyes, my coffee was stone cold, my watch ticking like a countdown. I checked the time. Hours had slipped away. I was late for work. Way late. I shoved the camera into my bag, grabbed my keys, and bolted for my truck. The drive to the office was a haze, those blurred faces and hanging bodies flashing in my mind. What the hell happened out there? I stumbled into work looking like I'd crawled out of a ditch, hair a mess, shirt half untucked. My team gave me weird looks, but I brushed them off, beelining for my office. One of my guys, Tom, caught me in the hall. His face was pale, his voice low, like he was scared to ask. "Where's your wife?" I stopped dead. "My wife?" "Yeah," he said, eyes narrowing. "Her and the rest of the management team. You all went on that retreat together, right? You're the only one back." My stomach twisted. I wasn't married. I went camping alone, but Tom was staring at me like I'd lost my mind. I pushed past him, heart pounding, and got to my desk. There it was, right by my monitor, a framed photo. The same group from the first picture, 7 of us, arms around each other, smiling. My tent, the lake, the pines. Their faces weren't blurred in this one. I knew them. Sarah, head of marketing. Mike, our CFO, Lisa, HR, my management team. But I didn't remember them being there. Not in the woods, not anywhere. I yanked out my camera, hands shaking, and pulled up the first photo. I compared it to the framed one, lining up the bodies, the clothes. It was them. It was us. But how? Why couldn't I remember? I scrolled to the last photo. The 6 blurred figures in the trees, Sarah, Mike, Lisa, the others. Hanging, necks broken. My hands, still in the frame, still empty. Who was taking the pictures? I don't know how long I sat there staring at the camera, the framed photo, a puzzle with no edges. My office felt like a coffin, the walls pressing in. Tom's words kept looping. "You all went on that retreat together, but I didn't. I went alone. I planned it alone, didn't I?" That last photo haunts me. Those figures in the trees, heads twisted like they'd been wrung out. The woman's arm around my waist in the first shot, like she was claiming me. The shredded tents, the empty spaces where people used to be. And the question that's eating me alive. If I wasn't holding the camera, who was? I haven't gone back to work. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see those blurred faces, those snapped necks. I hear the wind in the pines whispering things I don't want to understand. I've checked my camera 100 times, hoping the photos would change, make sense. They don't. They're still there, mocking me. I don't know what happened in those woods. I don't know who those people were or why my mind's wiped them out. I don't know if I'm cracking up or if something else, something worse, followed me home. But I'm not the man I was. I'm not sure I'm a man at all anymore. At night, I hear footsteps in my house, soft, careful, like someone circling just out of sight. I check the locks, the windows. Nothing. But I feel it, something watching, waiting. I keep my camera by my bed like it's a shield, but it's useless. Last night I woke to a sound, a sharp click like a camera shutter. I grabbed my camera, heart hammering, and checked the memory card. A new photo, time-stamped 3:17 a.m. Me, asleep in my bed, face pale in the dark. My hands were under the covers, nowhere near the camera. In the corner of the frame, just visible, was a blurred face, smiling.